Welcome to episode 67 of the XrmToolCast. In this episode, Scott and I talk with Jonas. He's back for 2022 just for one episode here just to talk about his new tool, the XRM Token Runner in the XrmToolBox. Jonas gives a quick update on his health. I also asked a pretty in-depth nerdy question on ToEntityReferences and key attributes and whether that should be included. And we even talk about Scott's dog using the bathroom. So stick around and enjoy some time getting an update from Jonas as well as his new tool. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the XrmToolCast. Me, Daryl, always raising the bar, and Scott. I've now got a clean, clear nasal passage Daryl. Scott, how's it going?
Yeah, very good, thank you. And yes, you correctly, yes, I just, for those listeners, viewers, yes, you didn't get the pleasure of hearing me blowing my nose just as...
He's got his own like tissue paper box too. It's Scotty's.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's kind of, you know, we're not sponsored by, you know, just to make that clear. You know, there's no product positioning going on here.
I think they may be trademarking your name, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, maybe I should, some kind of, you know, really expensive lawsuit against them for taking my name. I've got a feeling I probably won't get anywhere with that.
Them and the toilet paper. You gotta take care of both of those.
Yeah, I don't. That's just a part of my name that I just don't like to, you know, draw attention to.
Yeah, sorry, I have to say this before you even said hi and welcome, but I saw a paper with Scott. The name on it was when I was in Gatwick in October, went to the loo, and on the paper, when I'm on the loo there, try to get some, it says Scott. That's why he moved. Has to be why you go to Canada.
It's followed me out here, I have to say. So yes, thank you for that, Jonas. And the way of introducing yourself onto the show is just drawing people's attention to the fact that you think about me when you're sitting on the loo as well. I mean, maybe I'm, you know, or maybe that's presumptuous of me to think about that you actually thinking about me.
Yeah, the weirdest thing is that I had to take a picture on it as well from the loo. But why? You're everywhere.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, thank you for thinking about me on the loo.
I'm not sure I ever would have thought of us starting the episode out talking about taking pictures on the loo, but okay. All right, we're here. Yeah. We've arrived.
Well, I mean, where's it going to go from here?
It's 2022, and we are skipping the loo here. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jonas is back on the show, and this is what happens. I mean, it's just, you know,
this is why we can't have nice things like premium toilet paper or something. I don't know.
Really soft and gentle.
Yeah, I don't know what the
XrmToolCast sponsored by.
I don't know what the advertising is for toilet paper in other parts of the world, but in U.S. Scots is generally considered more of the cheaper end, and like Charmin or something like that with the cuddly bears and the soft tissue paper, like toilet paper. That's like the more the premium stuff, I guess.
You're calling me cheap now. This has taken an unexpected turn.
Well,
yes.
If you were toilet paper, I guess maybe you might be.
Let's move on, shall we? Let's move on. Okay. And let's get to more important things about that.
This is probably not what our listeners cared to join in about. So, so we have Jonas back on. Jonas, welcome. Glad to have you back. I'll give you a short introduction because you know you kind of need it, or not need it. You deserve it. So for normally I read out the Twitter, and your Twitter description is a little bit interesting because all you give is a single word and then a link. So pause, and you give your stroke URL, blog, develop, speak, XrmToolBox, and podcast. That is Mr. Jonas Rapp at the beginning of 2022. So, Jonas, so glad to have you back on. So glad to be able to chat with you. Why don't you give maybe a quick update of how you're doing health-wise as you start a brand new year, and then we'll dive into these tokens that you have tokens project you've created. So first, we'll go with the health. How you doing?
Well, it's very good to be back. Or if I'm not back, I know that because I'm a guest again. So I'm good with that anyway. And yeah, it is. I'm looking for 22 because 22 is going to be great, or not, but at least better than 21. I hope. So we hope so. But it's actually good. And if it like for 2 seconds about myself, I know I'm still working the same way I have basically the whole year. No, it's not, but it's like 10 months or so. Working a lot for me to fix the things that are not working for me. So basically working with my body, and now I focus on the leg and the foot.
Okay.
So it's getting a bit better at least. But my hand, we don't talk about that. That's getting so bad. So and I'm talking a bit more. You can probably understand a bit more than last time, and I can understand as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was out walking yesterday. I was listening to a bit of your reception. No, not you, but your a bit of the ones you have said. So I listened to Alice, what's her name? Her England. Yeah, the blue and green and something with a head.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really fun. And then my phone just started when that was end. It moved on to another one. Which one? When you only were talking about fun. It's really fun. So with the Matt and someone else.
Amy.
I hate Amy. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. All right. The dad joke episode. All right. I got you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Matt and Amy.
That was not my thing. So I like fun. That's fun, of course. But now it's probably in my brain is last off in the sort of my restart myself. Funny things. They just don't go. So you were really bored.
To be fair, though, Jonas, a lot of that was not funny. So
yeah.
So it's really
someone
not
said
you.
Something, everyone else was quiet. Like,
I still use Scott's butthole joke. I like that one. The temperature, the thermometer. There you go.
I promise.
Yes. When do you use that, Daryl? Exactly, it's like on every opportunity. Yeah.
Every opportunity. If anyone over the age of probably 12 or 13 realizes where thermometers sometimes are used to measure things, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, it's great to have you back, Jonas. And I have to say, it is a huge improvement. I mean, you're from the last time you had you on. I mean, it's you're just making as much sense as you always used to make. So, yeah.
Is that kind of like you're smarter than you look? Is that what that is, Scott?
I think something like that. Some kind of backhanded compliment. Is it a compliment? No, I don't know.
No. Okay.
It's obviously a huge amount of work and a lot of dedication, and I think that's the thing that we don't see is that actually you're probably you're hiding the fact that you've probably put in a huge amount of work that we don't really appreciate. So kudos on that.
Anyway. So I was talking about the tool.
Yes. You've. So I was hunting around. I don't know how I even saw it, but I was hunting around and saw that. Oh, you have this tokens, XRM tokens, right? Is that the name of the project? I probably should get that better. What's the name of it?
I mean, I actually have to read it because no one is ever talking about it, so I forget what it's called.
So I was like, he created something. He didn't tell anybody. What is this? It's kind of...
Actually, I think it's my 13 tool, which means number 13. It's gonna die so fast.
No, but lucky for some. 13 is lucky, you know.
Oh,
So, you know.
well, not here.
Because when I first saw it, XRM tokens, I first thought, oh, this is something to do with authorization. You know, like kind of, you know, sort of like a bearer token type thing. I was like, wow, well this is obviously some kind of, you know, crazy stuff going on here. And then obviously I looked at it and it was not anything to do with security.
So basically, I have a few questions. I have one question to you, because, well, finding a name, you know, what is harder? Yeah, of course, we know what's hard, what's hard naming. Yes. And I named it the Tokens Runner. And does that make a sense for you when you know what it does, and why with the name does that there's nothing right, I guess, because like whoops, brain went like was gone, and then I had no language, and then I should call it a name. It's really hard, but yeah, anyway, I hope.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, when I first read the information about it, it sort of it reminded me of the sort of instantiate template kind of thing, you know, from email templates and things like that. You know, where we and they use slugs. You know, I think slugs is rather than token, slugs is the name that they use for it, which always makes me laugh. The fact that you've got these. I don't know what the word is in Swedish, but you know, the kind of the gooey things that sort of slither around in the garden and eat your lettuce and eat your all your stuff growing. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of, the slugs and instantiating templates from data. So yeah, I think running makes perfect sense to me.
Okay, well, that's good. Because, well, actually, I have to go a bit to the history of why what created this and where it's from and so on. So then I will go like 12 years back.
12
years.
Wow,
it's like so long that no one has even worked. You were just kids by then.
Yeah.
Say
the
yes.
I-organization service.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, but I think it started in like 2010 when it was Serum 4 and or 4.0. We created like, or actually a colleague of mine, he created like tokens or placeholders that you could write in your Word. You had Word documents. You can write this with some curly things on the sides, and set the what do you call it? The attribute from CRM, so that you could open the Word file and it would replace these tokens with the data from CRM. So basically, it's an early Word thing. That because when it was not ready from Microsoft, and you could not do it there, so we started doing it, and we also made it longer. It was using also in workflows, and we had to make it was possible to work in plugins and even in JavaScript and so on. So it grew up more and more of how to do this. So we use this really a lot. In like we have a semi-product and semi-customer were there. So we had to be able to do small things to make it easier to use. Basically, what you do, everyone does in Flow nowadays.
Yeah.
But this was the way. And I mean, all my colleagues used it, and well, in what we worked here in Stockholm, everyone was using this, and I've also created a test for it so that you could write this like the text with the placeholders and see what it works. It was not in XrmToolBox by then, of course, but that is how I started. And this is an end for me now, because I moved from that company where I worked, and I think they still use it there some way at least. Then it was I think it's last in 2020 when I was looking something like this we would need for the bulk data updater, the XrmToolBox tools. You know, bulk data updater.
All right.
Yeah.
So you use that then to update a column based on whatever tokens you want to give for that record.
Exactly.
Then, right?
Yeah, I saw that actually. I thought that was really cool with that particular tool.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I started. It was like the embryo for my XRM tokens that I was creating out then. So, and this is actually when I call it the XRM tokens, because I thought it was right. I cannot say it was because of aphasia or some stroke. Actually, that was the best thing I knew. So when I call it XRM tokens. So I created in the code, and I have tools or like a shared project that you can use for a lot for XrmToolBox tools. You can use my helpers there. So the code was there as well. So I published a code, and I saw a bit of a document for it, and well, then I lost track of working out more and more with this. It forget, and then I lost track of myself, and then of course a few months go on because I was very out of that. Then for this summer, when I was like getting ready for it's time to start to code. That's what I want to do. I'm stunned. I have woken up again from my stroke, and so now I want to unwrite code and create tools. So I started just to try it out. It's for let's test myself and see if we can do that. So I started doing that, and sure, this can be a tool, but I added, of course, when I thought I had the XrmToolBox test. That was a tool that should be out there, but then it was also using my own helpers that I have a lot of like controls for using this WinForms, which is really old. But what we use in XrmToolBox, we can use these to easily read information from Dataverse and so on. So I just starting doing this to see what can you do about it, and how public and how glad people will be to try this tool. What was not, of course, because like three users somewhere some months ago, but not
that one.
No,
so
not really.
Real quick here, Jonas. So they have. I'm looking at the blog post you have, and you've got the XRM Tokens Runner, which is the XrmToolBox tool that you can use to. And I thought it was more of just testing, but you can just generate whatever you want to text you want to generate for that particular record, right? And then XRM Tokens is kind of the C# code that powers that. So if you want to use that in another project, people could. And then there's also XRM Substitutor as well. What's the XRM Tokens for? What's the XRM Substitutor for as being separate projects?
Yeah, the substitutor shit. I can't even say it. Yeah, but that's basically the code that does just this. So yes, it's also in just in one file. The things that's needing to do is find this, replace it with this data, and so on. So that's, you can use this in your own code when you're creating it. So if you like, well, no one likes this, but I think it was kind of fun to write that since it came from the old things. I was writing a lot. I was working with it for maybe like 60 years or so. But yeah, it works. That's basically all I can say. It works. I don't know.
It's one of those things that if you have a requirement, it's very easy for someone to just start writing it themselves, isn't it? It's like, okay, well, I need to go and substitute some text, or I need to kind of create a token. Whereas what you've got there is a library that people could use. So I guess it's about making sure people are aware of it. So, you know, hey, if you ever have this requirement, then there's a library to do this kind of thing here. So when you were using it in a plugin, is it like a kind of, you just load it as a code file and include it in your plugin? Is that how you use it in your projects? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, all of the codes and the project for the helpers that where this code is only in shared projects. So you use it, or I use it for submodules. So that's how you add it to yours, and then it's ready in the code, so you can use it anywhere. So basically, if anyone likes anything of these, then you're there, and either way, or you may continue to use this submodule from my sort of from where they are in my GitHub, or you just take them and do whatever you want and change it in what ways you want in the future.
Yeah. When I was working on SalesSpark, there's a big requirement there for instantiating big email templates, quite complicated stuff with lots of substitution of data, and functions like being able to say, oh well, let's arrange a meeting next, and then picking the next weekday, or the next weekday, either Thursday or Friday, depending on where you are. If you're on Thursday, pick Friday. If you're on Friday, pick the Thursday in the next week, those kind of things. So I had the requirement to have functions inside of this kind of token base, and I used handlebars as the language, token language. Actually, it was a variant of that called mustache, which is, I guess, the handlebar mustache kind of thing. I think the handlebars comes from the fact that it's like a curly braces. It kind of, if you turn it on its side, it looks like a mustache or a handlebar of a bike. But yeah, that's something that you can run in JavaScript or in C#. And I think you mentioned before that you might have the requirement to run it from JavaScript or C#. So does this work? Is there any way of making this work in JavaScript as well as C#?
I would say what we always did in JavaScript, that was we had some easy way of calling some server-side functionality.
Right.
So that's what we have wrapped into how we usually, when we create our JavaScript, then they have something wrapped already for actually calling it server side and getting it back as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've written that same exact code. I don't know how many times, or I had my same code base, I guess, for primarily it's for naming things in CRM. So the display name for this child entity should be concatenation of the parent name along with this one field, which isn't very complicated, but be able to just take that and having a whole lot more you could add to it, and then being able to just parameterize that as a config option in the registration to say, hey, this is the format that I want to use. That will yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It'd be nice to have. So okay, so that's the actual file itself is the XRM substituter. XRM Tokens Runner is the actual XrmToolBox tool, and then XRM Tokens, is that just where you do the documentation for it? Then how to use it?
Was it the tester there?
Well, you have code is maintained on GitHub, XRM tokens code. I'm guessing it's actually just on the wiki if you're showing all that stuff.
Yeah, so let's have this session, and we just say go check in the web on the docs.
RTFM. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
that was kind of funny because Jordi Montagna posted he updated a lot of the docs for the fake XRM Easy. And I was like, what? Documentation for a unit test? No, it's not right. What is this magic? So that's fine.
But it's funny when you do actually go and read the docs, you kind of like, I wish I'd read this earlier. It's the number of times that happens to me.
Yeah, I know that. I know that for all the years, and I know that extremely much this year because reading it takes like 10 times longer to read. So I hate it so much.
I'm anyway, gonna go ahead, Jonas.
No, I was just going to since no one is using it, why would you use it? Well, I have one where I use it myself, and that's for the I have to check for the bulk data updater, of course, the tool.
Yeah.
Then, that one should be easier to use for this tool as well. So, like, they should integrate those tools because you can use the XRM tool, the XRM tokens. You can use that in bulk data updater, but if you integrate to this new tool, then you can easily create the text, or basically the text and the tokens. You can, and that's what you can do in the tool. But so that means, okay, the bulk data updater, that's the only one that use the XRM tokens, I think, from what I know. But I think that you may use it when it gets too complicated when like finding text here and there. When you're trying in today, you're probably trying in Flow or Automation, whatever in Flow, and you want to create it more, and it should be more complicated than you can. Okay, you write your own code. You create your plugin or your workflow or so on, and it could easily be how we create the text to generate what we want out in the end time.
I love that part of the bulk data updater where you can use data and to create sort of like calculated fields. If you want to standardize a particular field to have, a certain format, the thing I think of is when you've got a name field. Like, name fields are the bane of my life sometimes, because it's like you don't really need a name field in a lot of records. It's like I'm just creating this for the little field across the top of the form. That's the only reason that it's existing, and then obviously in lookups as well. So using that, you could just do a retrospective update and format it in a particular way, which is lovely.
Yeah, actually, the old version of these tokens is what we had. We've also created a plugin that just is a naming for new created. So we had that was using it. So you can use it as curly something beginning and then set this attribute and this attribute and so on, so that the namings was working like.
Is that code anywhere? Have you published that code anywhere for the plugin?
No, it's at the company, at the old company.
Ah, okay. But I can see that being very useful. People would really love that because it's such a common, having a little configuration to say, okay, here's the little XRM tokens formula to create your name to actually format your name field.
Yeah.
Probably the most plugins have ever been built. That's probably the most common plugin to ever have been built, I reckon.
Yeah, and that tool was also the step for the plugin was triggering for all entities, but it was really fast at skipping it if it shouldn't do something for that or that entity. So you could have it. It was really cool to have, actually. So it's probably in here. We'll see if it's black right there, or if I remember not enough.
So I have a question for you too, which I thought would be interesting here. So switching gears a little bit here, ToEntityReference. Okay, that takes an entity and it gives you back the entity reference, which is just the logical name and the GUID. Okay. I was wondering, I suggested actually that Microsoft would actually expand that to also check to see if the GUID is empty, to go and copy over the key attributes collection. Does that seem like that's something that would be useful or not?
And you're asking me?
I'm asking both you and Scott. So the key attribute collection is what you use to handle the alternate keys, right?
Yeah.
So that
I will have to. Yeah, I will have to take I have a stroke that I can say. This question was too long for me. You said like 2, 3, 5 things you said, and there were things in what you say. It means I need to think about what this word mean and this word mean. So I'm good at something. This is really hard for me still. So Scott, tell me, what do you answer him?
Well, I suppose it would make sense to do that. Because obviously, if you're going to create an entity reference and you don't have a GUID, then the alternate keys probably does seem like the logical thing to do there. I suppose with any of these things, changing functionality is always somewhat risky. I guess that's always going to be the issue here in terms of, I can imagine that might cause some sort of regression issues with existing code. So maybe like an additional, another overload or something, having use alternate keys as an additional parameter or something.
I agree. You're like the smartest guy, so of course I agree.
I don't use alternate keys very much, I have to say. I mean, alternate keys are useful when you really have to, when you don't want to have to do that kind of situation where you create a record, then you go and grab the GUID, and then sort of or query it first to get the GUID, that kind of thing. So I only use alternate keys when I'm up against a problem where it's a performance optimization, or it means that the code is going to be really, really super simple. Or in integration scenarios as well. I guess that's the other thing when I use alternate keys.
And that's how I'm using it right now. Is I'm doing an integration with this other system. They have all these keys, and I realized that, well, dang it, if I want to go and create the parent record and then 4 child records and then 2 grandchild records, I've got to do like each of those levels individually, which would be lots of calls. Or if I just use the alternate keys, rather than getting the actual GUIDs, I could do a single, execute multiple requests and just do it all in one actual SDK call. And so that's what I was going through and doing. And then I was like, oh, dang it, the ToEntityReference doesn't do that. I thought maybe it would. And then so I went and just created an extension method that ToReference that did actually do that. Say, hey, do you have a GUID? Good, use the GUID. If you don't, use the alternate key. And I mean, my life is easier. I just thought, oh, that would be something I thought they would have done back when they introduced alternate keys, I guess.
Yeah. I think alternate keys were introduced specifically for that kind of scenario where you don't have to do that double query. I think that was, I remember seeing the blog post. So it was like, hey, you can now use alternate keys. I think that was one of the things that was called out. if I remember correctly, was like, have you ever done a situation where you want to go and update a record from another system and you only know the ID in another system, and you first have to do a query to say, select all the records where the key equals this, and then get the GUID and then go and do the update to it. And you don't have to do that now. You can just do it in one. But I have to say that a lot of the integration scenarios I find, I have to have special logic to manage situation where there's been situations where you've got multiple records in Dataverse that have the same alternate key from an external system. Like duplicate records have been created in Dataverse that all point to the same record in that external system. And so you have to be really, really sure that alternate keys is what you want because of that problem. Because obviously, as soon as you go down exactly. As soon as you go down alternate keys, there's no going back. It's like you have to guarantee that you're never going to have a one-to-many kind of scenario going on.
Yep. Cool. All right. That was my little side script of the week.
After this,
interesting.
This gets out. Now, I will listen to what you talk about for your question and your answers. And I will look, and I will look back, and I will look back, and I will look. And the third 5 was how many times I need. Then I'll understand. And then I would say no if you're wrong, or yeah if you're right.
All right. When you're listening to a question, what's the thing that sort of helps you in terms of really understanding the question? So, if we were to construct a perfect question, how would it help to construct?
You should actually have gone to my session in Southampton.
Yes, I still need to watch that. Yes.
Yeah, so that's the one I told. No, actually, when we're talking here on the line online, it would be great to have some, not a whiteboard if we are on the same place, but otherwise just keep chatting also. So we chat, and when you talk about something, I say, hey, stop that work, how that word is, then okay, just write it once. And I say, okay, I know what that is, of course, but how I get what you're saying, it's really hard to getting in there. So I mean, I know it's getting better. Of course, the more I talk, the more I listen to it about this language we're talking about with all the techies. That is good. Now I know what dynamics is. I know what power is. Something it could be Power BI, Power Apps, Power. I don't remember. Okay, so something Power in a way. So, but I mean, it's getting better. But I need a combination of writing something and talk for the rest.
So does rephrasing a question help, or does that just add more complexity? So if I asked a question and then ask the same question but in a different way, is that helpful or not?
I mean, if you ask first in the easy way, don't change how you talk, then I just need to, okay, need to understand the words. You shouldn't rephrase it in a hard way. Then it gets more complicated. But and also it's like, actually also from my session I had, it was like, if you're talking one time as CRM and next time you say Dynamics, or in third times you say Power Platform, and they mean the same thing, you confuse me. That I was actually talking about, I would like to eat pasta tonight. And my wife says, yeah, let's have spaghetti. And I was like, oh shit, she wants something else than I. But she wants the same thing. So it's the same with the techy things that we're talking about. Just one thing, it's called one thing, and never ends. So being with Microsoft, it's impossible. I mean, is it XRM, CRM, 365, Power? No, and don't do that. Don't do that. If you're Scott, then you are Scott. Don't name something else. Always.
It could be called something else tomorrow. Who knows? So
So basically, the Microsoft marketing department is your worst enemy.
Yes. Totally.
Because I think all of these things are fantastic things that everyone can learn from. You know, they're just communication techniques, I think, that are useful. I find myself constantly struggling sometimes out here, even in Canada, and people just don't understand what I'm saying because of my accent, which to be honest, I've never had that other than going to countries where English is not sort of widely spoken. I've never really had that as a problem. So it's something I've had to take as a learning opportunity myself. Just going, like my daughter laughs at me going through the drive-through at McDonald's. She sits in the back seat while I try and order a latte and a Big Mac and whatever. And she's just laughing because I'm saying, "Oh, can I have a Big Mac and a latte?" And they say, "Sorry, can you say that again?" And I repeat it in sort of more of a frustrated tone, and then I have to breathe and say it slowly, and then she's just laughing, and that doesn't help. So yeah, I think it's something I can learn a lot from. So yeah. I'm gonna definitely go and make a
I mean, you have no issue. I mean, you come from England and you speak English, and you speak English in US as well. Where you're all speaking English anyway. So you mean you can move to Spain or something? Then you might have a problem.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes I don't necessarily explain myself as well as I could do. So it's all a journey, isn't it? Getting better at learning to explain yourself and better at constructing questions and things like that. So I'm definitely going to watch your session from the South Coast Summit. I think, that's on my list to do.
I think the key really is understanding that people don't hear what we're saying the same way, that people hear things differently, or they don't understand what we're saying the same way. So always having your audience in mind when you're talking is so important. And it's so easy to forget.
It's like, I mean, when I get back to work, I'll say, okay, let's write it down. This is what we call this. This is what we call that, and so on. And don't start call it like something else just because we can. I mean, we can say it in any way and how we want to. It's very possible. It's very easy to talk about it differently when that just makes my life hard.
Maybe we should play a game with Jonas. We'll give him 2 words and ask him if they mean the same thing or not the same thing.
Yes, I like that.
Toilet, loo. What do we got?
Yeah, they got this paper and it says Scotty.
Yes. Yeah, I had to take my dog to the this is completely off topic, sorry, but I had to take my dog to the vet yesterday, and they asked me, has he had a bathroom break recently? And it struck me, it's a very odd thing to say ask about a dog. Has he had a bathroom break? But yeah, bathroom, toilet, loo, lavvy. I can think of a million names. Restroom.
Yes. That's what we call it over here on the side of the pond, though, is bathroom. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Even though I don't take a bath.
WC.
And even there's probably not even a bath in the room.
WC, Jonas, yes. This is already a good game, definitely.
No. I found a new one. Definitely.
We should do this. We should do it more.
Maybe not in this session or in this podcast.
No, people maybe get a bit, yes. But what you were just saying there, Jonas, about coming up with a naming convention at your company to say, right, this is what we call these things. I think that is a fantastic idea. And, you know, everyone should do that. Everyone should have a standard glossary, a set of terms. And this is what we call these things. Because, it sometimes is so easy. I find myself, even when I'm writing a document, and and I'll find myself referring it to one thing at the top, and then by the end, maybe it's like 2 days later or 3 days later, it's taken me all the time to get to the end of the document. I might start calling it something different. You know, they're synonyms, but they really should be talked. They should be the same thing.
I have started a few projects where we start with, you write, okay, this is what they are called, this is what they are called, this is what, and you sort of, when I'm working from CRM and the people from F&O, we should talk about the same thing. What's an account? Well, that's one thing from the CRM, and it's another thing from F&O. So that's, so we always have to do that, and we think, why the hell are we doing this? It's so easy. We should always know this. But then when they start working, they are working over to the left, and the other ones are working on the other side. And then, like, after the end of the project, you have created this. Why we have said that accounts are master in CRM. No, but they think they are master in F&O and so on. So yeah, talk is needing.
Yeah.
Well, Jonas, I don't want to take up too much of your time or to stress you out too much. Is there anything else we should cover that or you'd like to share before we wrap up for the day?
I was going to talk about, but it's not. Maybe it's time for another session, another
episode.
But I was talking about, since I was starting to look a bit at another tool that's actually, it's really just a tool, but it's not from me or anyone else. It's from Microsoft. And I think it's really interesting when these tools are starting to come from Microsoft too as well. So it's not for the project or for the Power Platform, but it's somewhere in between because it makes things easier. So maybe we talk about that one day. Because then I don't know too much about that. It was at Microsoft. So, but I think it's really interesting that it's actually looking like tools. So in my case, it's like this, where we have get Power Apps and connect them with GitHub or Azure DevOps or whatever, and to get the code from Power Apps into and it's like it takes everything from we need about how do we commit, how do we push, how do we pull it, and so they do it under the, what do you say? They're doing it themselves. You
had an excellent blog post recently about that.
Thank you.
So perhaps we can put a link to that, actually, because it was really good. I love the way that you explained it and showed it all the way from the beginning, and actually how it looks as well for an app as well. So
and in this case, and in this case, it's a tool that does a lot for you, which also means then I can't work it like I want to do it, like looking at the changes before we push the commits and so on. We cannot. We can't even find it. You can find it. First time you find it is on GitHub or whatever you put it. So you cannot really see it before you understand what is changing. So
yes, you have to work with pull requests and merges rather than just the individual commits. But it's a step in the right direction. But
they're getting there.
Yeah, they're getting there. I think the phrase was very experimental, not just experimental. It was very experimental.
Extreme experimental. But they actually the other day they launched it for everyone. I mean, everyone in the world for it. So it's not just in one little small area for this, but we can all try it now.
That's
Nice.
like the SpaceX internet service, better than nothing. I think that was what their initial rollout was called.
Yeah, the interesting is that the idea of the tool comes for making you have several developers, and that you can have a your developers. There's more than one, and that's how we use it. But I just wanted it in someone else. I wanted to see what change has it really found when I click and click everywhere, which is how you develop these things, and see what was really changed. And well, it does that, but that's not really what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yes, certainly a far cry from what we're used to with code and commits and diffs and all of that stuff.
But we know it's code.
Yes, it's code, really. Everything is code.
So show it to me.
That sounds like a T-shirt, Jonas. We know it's code. Just T-shirt.
Show me
Then
the
maybe some
code.
tinfoil hats to go with it or something. I don't know. Well, Jonas, it was great hearing your voice. Unfortunately, I don't know how the audio is or the video will show on YouTube, but for us, at least for me, I see a different picture about every 20 seconds with a still image. Some have been hilarious. I had one where my eye was open and my nose. I was weird. But hopefully your experience was better than mine, and hopefully that all works in our upload process. But Jonas, thanks for seeing it. Thanks for seeing you. No, thank you for coming on, and it was great seeing you. That's what
It was great.
I'm combining
seeing you,
two
Jens.
things, which is not good for you. You like one thing. So anyway,
It's good. So now 2 times I'm a guest. Let's
Yes.
see.
Two times your guest, and you're going to be the top. You have the best odds of being the #1 guest for 2022, because if you just keep on adding up all the views
Good.
throughout the year, you get pretty high chance of being there. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Oh well.
All right.
Sure.
Well, we'll get your blog on the tokens posted, and if there's anything else you want to share, feel free to send that our way, Jonas.
Yeah.
Do you want to share how people can get a hold of you now, Jonas?
No, I have no idea.
All right. If they don't know how to get a hold of him, it's too late. They can't do it. So anyway. All right.
Yes.
Well, Scott, how do our listeners get a hold of us?
Well, our at least 3 listeners can get hold of us at cast@XrmToolBox.com, or you can reach us on Twitter or LinkedIn at XrmToolCast. And we would love to hear from you. If there are 4 or 5 listeners, that would be great,
Maybe.
All right. You're just trying to not get turned into a pillar of salt. That's what that sounds like. That's an old Bible reference. Sorry. But anyway. Okay. All right. Good seeing you all. Have a good one. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers all.
This has been the XRM Toolcast with Daryl and Scott Durrell. Produced by Lynn Zawin. If you have any questions or suggestions, please send them to cast@XrmToolBox.com, tweet @XrmToolCast, or hit us up on our LinkedIn XrmToolCast page.